Hi, I'm attorney Andrew Thomas. Welcome to this week's edition of the Deposition. I'm here with senior attorney Nathan Lewis.
Good to be here.
Awesome. Well, let's get into it.
All right.
February is the month of Valentine's Day. Love, engagements, marriages, all that good stuff. But we also know that immigration comes into play when we're talking about marriages and marriage fraud, which is what USCIS heavily investigates. We know recently that some people have been detained when they're going in for adjustment of status interviews and things like that with their spouses, I-130 interviews and those kind of things. So let's talk a little bit about what the risks are and what are potential red flags that USCIS is looking for when someone's filing a marriage-based visa.
Sure. Like for a marriage-based visa to work, it has to be what's called a bona fide marriage, which means you're not getting married solely for immigration benefits. Some red flags that show you are getting married for immigration purposes is you don't live together, but that's a huge one. That surprisingly catches a lot of people. You have no joint accounts, no joint bank accounts, no joint bills. You're not on each other's credit cards. There's no photographs. So basically, you don't have the things that a normal married couple would have together.
I think it's important to note that all of those things you're mentioning, none of them are required for you to have, but they look at these in totality, and they're going to make a determination on what it is. And if they find enough red flags, I mean, home visits are not out of the question, where they come to your house to make sure that you're there and that you are married to the person you say you are.
I mean, USCIS will go and talk to your neighbors.
Absolutely.
And ask your neighbors, have you ever seen this person here together with this person? And if they say no, that's going to be real bad for you.
So we've seen the Department of Justice, specifically Attorney General Pam Bondi. She posted on social media about how they can go through the denaturalization process for people that commit serious crimes and then have those concealed or don't omit them during the naturalization process. I mean, we know that they instituted a lawsuit against a specific individual at least once.
Yeah.
We know of other instances this has happened in the past, but specifically now. So what does denaturalization mean, and what's the process entail?
So basically, denaturalization is where the U.S. government decides to strip you of your citizenship. So you're no longer a U.S. citizen. It entails basically a federal lawsuit against you to strip you of your citizenship. And this can occur because you were caught lying. You're not on your application. You committed, like you said, serious crimes that were not disclosed. And it's not just lying on what's called the N-400, which is your citizenship application. If they can catch you lying when you initially got residency too. If they discover that and you're dishonest in your residency application, they can move to then strip your citizenship.
Yeah, I think it's important to note that denaturalization is specifically for those individuals who got citizenship through naturalization process, not born in the U.S., obviously.
Yeah, right.
And if you are getting your naturalization through what the government deems to be fraud, then those are the people that would be at risk to have that stripped away.
Yeah.
And, it's a dangerous time.
It's historically been a very, very difficult process in general. However, Trump and his government have made mention that they want to streamline this process in some way, make it easier for them to do this. Still very tough to do.
Let's keep following this story.
Yeah.
Let's talk about immigration fines for people that fail to deport when they're supposed to. Now, we know this has always been technically a thing where the government can fine somebody that has a final order of removal or a voluntary departure, and they fail to leave the United States on the date they're supposed to leave.
Yeah.
But now we know that they're actually trying to enforce this. I mean, some lady has nearly $1 million in fines that the government is now filing a lawsuit against her to try to recoup those costs because she's been here for so long. We know these fines are typically about $1,000 a day past the date of a final order of removal or a voluntary departure. So let's talk a little bit about what exactly is a final order of removal.
A final order of removal is when you go in front of an immigration judge and you present your case, and the immigration judge says your request for relief is denied. I'm going to order you to remove from this country to your whatever country you're from, or sometimes a different safe third country. and then you have 30 days to appeal that, and then becomes a final order of removal.
So if we're taking the appeal aside, and you actually have this final order of removal, or your appeals are exhausted, then from that day forward, the government does have the ability to start instituting this fine.
They do. It's almost $1,000 a day that you've overstayed. Historically, they never impose this fine at all.
I haven't seen it.
I've never seen this before in my practice. But that just because they have not done this does not mean they cannot do this. So this is something they can do under the law, and it looks like they are enforcing this on some people.
Although I'd still say it's exceedingly rare at this point.
This is not everyone that tries to get immigration benefits or whatever. It is a very rare occurrence when this happens.
It's a good point. So how would one avoid a final order of removal?
Mainly by hiring an experienced immigration attorney to fight your case in court, allowing you to present your defenses, to maybe file relief outside of court, like say a marriage-based process. It's a very complex issue, which requires guidance from someone who knows what they're doing.
I think that's really important because we notice that the differences in those that have good representation and bad or no representation, I mean, the numbers speak for themselves. The success levels are just hugely different.
Yeah.
So last month passed the 1-year anniversary of Donald Trump being elected president again.
Yeah.
And there have been a lot of changes, specifically in immigration. Let's go through a few of these.
Oh man, there's so many. There's so many changes. So much of what he's done is making life hard for all our clients and immigrants in general. The main difference with Trump is how immigration court has operated and everything kind of surrounding immigration court. The government cannot dismiss a case, so even if you have a valid remedy outside of court, you still have to deal with the court case. You're not getting out of it. There's more detentions at ICE check-ins. So if you're going to an ICE check-in, if you're complying with what the government told you to do while your court's underway, they're still going to detain you.
Yeah.
There's more detentions in general, just across the board. Like say USCIS interviews for I-130s, adjustments, asylum interviews with USCIS. So there's lots of changes that have been made.
They're starting to pre-termit applications that the government deems to be not very strong or doesn't have good relief, not even giving the respondent, the immigrant, a chance to be heard in court. They're just stopping it when people try to mostly file their own applications or use a notario or something, and they're filing these rather flimsy applications. You'll see a judge come in and just not even give them a chance to be heard. Case denied, deportation.
I saw an order from a judge just today from a prospective client where a paralegal filed 589. The judge rejected it at their court hearing and said, no, this does not comply with the asylum. File this again.
Yeah, and I'm going to talk directly to you guys. So you can put yourself in a much better position to succeed. You do not have to go through all of these things that we see people that come to us seeking a consultation that are in a bad position already. There are things you can do to prepare yourself and have a extremely better chance at having success in not only immigration court, but if you're filing an application with USCIS. If you're using experienced immigration attorneys, we've been doing this for decades. And we have a team of attorneys and staff ready to help you guys. And we've seen all of these situations all the time. You just need to take the opportunity to come here, tell us your story, and let us put you in that driver's seat to have success in 2026.
Right.
All right, we get some questions from people that watch the show, and let's go through some of these. So what is the fastest way to get a green card?
There's not really an answer to that question. It's so fact dependent on your circumstances. I would say the fastest way is enter with a visa, marry a U.S. citizen really quick, and then file on adjustment status. The 90 days thing, the government presumes that it's a fraudulent marriage if you get married before 90 days after crossing the visa. However, you can overcome that pretty easily if you have an attorney working your case and you actually have proof this is a real marriage.
Sure. So we're in tax season. I mean, we're all working on our taxes. But when it comes to immigration, a question that we got submitted is, will filing taxes separately affect someone trying to remove the conditions on their green card?
If that's the only thing you have that's a problem, probably not. If you don't file taxes together and you're not on a mortgage or a lease, and there's nothing showing you have a real marriage, then yeah. Once again, it comes back to the totality of circumstances analysis. That's a big one, but by itself, no. But it could cause problems.
So we see this question a lot about people being detained and how that happens. So one of the specific questions is, when people go to a biometrics appointment, an appointment to get your fingerprints done with USCIS, are they at risk of being deported? What they're asking is, are they at risk of being detained while going to that appointment?
I have not really seen people being detained at a biometric appointment. I suppose it's theoretically possible, because technically you can get detained for any reason whatsoever if you're not here legally. But I would say it's a very, very low risk of being detained at a biometric appointment.
Yeah, where we see this a lot more commonly and people might be getting confused is obviously the so-called ICE check-ins. People that are in active immigration court, they require them to report to ICE every so often. What do they set the date? It used to be once a year, but every so often. They're starting to detain those people who are doing the right thing. They're showing up at their appointment and they are being detained. And we're seeing it sometimes at interviews with USCIS, not biometrics appointments, but some interviews at USCIS. We are seeing that.
So yeah, that's a pretty popular thing for ICE to do right now, unfortunately. At check-ins, especially, is the biggest risk. But fingerprint appointments, no, I would be surprised.
Thanks for joining us on the Deposition today. Thank you, Attorney Lewis.
Thanks for having me.
All right, thanks, guys. Tune in next time. We'll see you soon.